There was just a session with the Stark County Commissioners where Mr. Green presented to the Commissioners a resolution for 10-year levy.
That is correct.
And could you relate to the viewers exactly the millage for that proposed levy?
It is a total 3.3 mill levy. It is a 1.9 renewal with a 1.4 additional, but it's a no new tax pledge.
Okay.
We have expiring levies in 13 and 14, and we will not levy the dollars from the 14 expiring levy if this passes.
Which is also that 1.4. So
Okay.
the 2013 is a 1.9, and the 2014 expiring is a 1.4.
Okay. And now, if I read the commissioners correctly, one of the concerns was the carryover that your organization's going to have in terms of, will that make it more difficult to convince the Stark County public to pass the proposed levy? Your reaction?
We do not believe that it will be, I mean, certainly there's a challenge with any levy, but in regards to this case, we need these two levies to pass, and we need to continue to change how our service delivery system is working. Because if we do everything as we're doing it now, we run out of money in 2018. So this is about a long-term strategy being put in place, and the passage of these levies together will permit us to do it well and to do it over a period of time and do it incrementally rather than having to do anything quickly, and that's why we think this is a good idea.
Okay, so the task will be to convince the public that although you're carrying over, what, about 2/3 of your annual budget, $32 million against a $50 million budget, that long term it's going to evaporate quickly, and you need to have that now, but it's not going to be there in 5 years.
That is correct.
Okay. Now, one question I had, what if you can't do the restructuring that you referred to in your session with commissioners, and you can't get to the 10-year mark? Is there a possibility or a likelihood or probability that you'd be asking for a new levy in another 5 years?
Right now, we will be concentrating on getting this levy passed, because if we don't, we're only sustainable if this levy would fail to 2015. So that would be dramatic change in a very short amount of time, and we don't believe that's good for individuals with disabilities or their families. So given a 5 to 7 year time span, we believe we can implement the changes that we have to. We can do it incrementally, and we can do it well.
Okay. Now, I was intrigued with your idea that you presented to the commissioners that you're in the process of working with third-party agencies, if I got that correct, to provide many of the services that the Department of Developmental Disabilities is presently taking care of, and out into the private sector, would it be?
That is correct.
Yeah, we have, as he mentioned, we have lots of for-profit and nonprofit providers that go through stringent requirements to do those services for people with developmental disabilities and their families. And so, as Bill said, part of our strategic plan is that we become more of a funder of those services and trying to shift money over that slow period of time as we change our business model to start helping fund services for people with disabilities, because we feel that that's how we can reach in and directly help a family more. And so over this change, this business model change, moving from that provider of those services, that when we can, where we can, we're shifting that money to fund those services, because there, as we said, there's a growing number of people. We increase at least 3% each year from our total people that require our services. And so, as Bill said, if it's the same amount of money that we have now, that we have for the next 10 years, how do we help that new 3% every year? And the best way we can do it is to change how we do and be funding more services for people. And that's going to require the whole community, the board, these providers, to help families and people with disabilities.
Does this equate to less government?
It does ultimately. And right now, in residential services, 100% of residential services in Stark County are provided by not-for-profit and private providers. And it's increasing in regards to transportation, and it's increasing in regards to adult services. So ultimately, what this means is less employees for the county board, and therefore less government.
Okay. Is there a loss of control of quality of service to the recipients once they're moved out more into the private sector? Is you going to be able to maintain the quality, and if it's not there, is there some recourse that your department has to deal with that?
Yeah, absolutely. In regards to, like I said before, 100% of the services residentially are provided by not-for-profit and for-profit companies and providers. And we, as the county board, one of our roles is planner. We plan each person's individual service plan every year, and it goes into a document. We monitor the services, and we bring those any findings or any concerns to the provider, and we follow up on them to ensure that the quality is what is needed.
And if it's not, what's the recourse?
Yeah. There are a number of different steps that can be taken. One is what is called a provider compliance review, and that is actually done by the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities, and they get involved. And there is a whole step of safeguards to ensure a person is safe and well and living the life that they want to live.
So if it's a long enough track record of not providing quality service, they lose their provider status?
They do. There is a revocation process where they're unable to provide services any longer.